All right, Rawle, thank you for coming to Big Smith Studios for sit down with us here today. Obviously, a lot's happening in basketball for 2026. I know you're also a representative or one of the major representatives of Slinger Football
Yeah.
Club. But we put a little pause on football
Yeah,
for
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But obviously, two big courts opening, one in Tiger Bay, one in Camberville.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Camberville looking very nice with the PVC layout. I just wanted to ask you, what does that mean for basketball with the opening of these outdoor courts?
Tristan, thanks a lot for having me. The two courts are strategically placed. Tiger Bay, which gives us access to more grassroots, well, both grassroots, but gives us access to a community that, you know, if you remember from those of us that played ball back in the day, we used to go in Tiger Bay, right on that same corner, had a little hoop.
Right.
And we would go there and hoop from time to time. You know, it's a little physical, but it's something that we thoroughly enjoyed. So now they have a more controlled space. I think it gives us an opportunity to host, short tournaments in there, like a little 3x3 tournaments.
Right.
It's not quite ideal doesn't meet the size for us to hold 5v5 competition. I know the lines are close to the fence and so forth. But we started off at 3x3 and it was well attended, the games were quite exciting. And I think it gives us an opportunity to tap into a talent and an area that we typically didn't have access to in terms of going to that community to find the talent. The one more in Campbellville, though, it's quite interesting because we don't have a lot of courts like that in the Caribbean, let alone in Guyana.
Right.
So it's the first one. And when I attended the commission, Minister Juan Ejil, the Minister of Public Works, because this is a facility that falls under Public Works, and he said that they were happy that it's the first of its kind in Guyana, they were even more pleased that it is something that started at the community level.
Yeah.
And one which, gives people in the community 24/7 access to that facility. And not usually when something like this rolls out, it's for like a more elite class, international level, but this is for community level. And it tells us that in fact, it gives the Basketball Federation an opportunity to take the game to the community in a controlled environment, one that is safe, and one that has the amenities for us to host competitions at the community level. So we're grateful for that because while basketball courts we're seeing rolling out throughout Guyana and at the community level, a lot of them still has a lot of work to do before we could say, you know what, we're going to host some females out there because they don't have the washroom facilities, changing rooms, and so forth, especially. And, adequate lighting, good lighting. I think the Camberville court should be a standard of how lit a court should be. I mean, it still could be a little brighter, but it should be a standard of how courts should be built and how it could make a meaningful impact to the game at the community level.
Definitely, and with the building of these two courts, obviously, just around the same time, the sport budget was released, $6 billion. Obviously, a lot of maintenance into grounds and the constructions of more facilities probably will fall into that budget. What does the Guyana Basketball Federation think about the current budget?
Well, given the fact that we benefited significantly last year from government that had an extended budget of about $8 billion for sport, this year is about $2 billion less, $6 billion this year. We would have published our calendar of activities, and I was telling you off air that the activities on our calendar aren't things that we want to do, are things that we have to do to meet our mandate. We would have almost doubled the amount of activities we did in 2025. This year we have the men's team competing at the regional level. We just went to Suriname, we'll touch on that. But the budget gives us an opportunity to tap into resources to help in our funding. Not saying that we're going to government for everything.
Right.
Of course, corporate Guyana plays a major role in how we develop sport in Guyana. But the budget, when you look at the budget, you don't see a lot of infrastructural work attached to it. Yes, you are seeing the completion of the track in Linden, which started about 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Let's say 7, 8 years ago. I'm happy to see that coming on stream, the completion of the one in Berbice, the Palmyra facility. And not many facilities you see being built in that. So it tells us the budget really focuses on supporting associations, athletes, and ensuring that sport is properly managed in Guyana. So that's what this budget tells me. Because while it is $2 billion less, from last year is because well, I assume that they don't have a lot of infrastructure work to be done
Right.
from this budget. Maybe the infrastructure work will be taken by the Ministry of Public Works or something, but we don't have a lot of that. So I think the Guyana Basketball Federation, we welcome this budget. In a statement, Michael Singh would have rightfully stated that the government of Guyana has been generous to sport in the last couple of years, and particularly last year when we hosted our Women's Caribbean Championship. And now we're hosting the men's, well, we're going into the men's championship this year, and also our women's team competing in Central Basket for the first time since 1995. So this budget now allows us to tap into that, readily giving a breakdown of what we would need to the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, to the National Sports Commission. And while we see 1.3 or 1.6 billion from that budget going towards ground enhancement, we're hoping that ground enhancement also includes basketball courts, basketball facility, even if it's just a 3x3 court in
Right.
those community grounds as well.
Yeah, nice. And for sure, the success, you mentioned the success of the women earlier in the conversation. Off of that success, what are the plans of the federation to parlay that success? I mean, even if it's into the central basket or generally for girls basketball, because, you know, we're looking at how we're doing equality, and we want to ensure that our females also have the same opportunity as our men. As you mentioned, the men just came back from the Nations
Right,
Cup as
correct.
well.
That's a good question, Tristan. It puts us in a ticklish position where women's basketball is concerned, not just from a equality standpoint, but from an equity standpoint. Again, showing that they have exactly what they need to compete and more,
Right.
properly prepared. But there's a regional problem we have where, unlike our men's team that could pick up the phone and say, hey, Suriname, we want to play, or Suriname could say, Guyana, let's come and play our men's, or Grenada could say, oh, we want to come to Guyana next month. A lot of national federations around the region where women's basketball is concerned, it's kind of hard.
Right.
They're struggling to put that together. In Guyana, we will, so to speak, spin off to have women's club championship, get more women and girls involved in the sport, and play more women's 3x3, which allows them to play a game that's fun, it's fast, which would allow mass participation at the youth level in particular, and how best we could tap into what youth basketball has been doing for girls in schools in terms of basketball as well. But it's hard. It's really not the same that we could do for our women. Last year we hosted Suriname, and Suriname is basically on the same level as us,
Right.
where they are now getting their women's programs for regionally compete. And if you look at the countries that would have participated at the Caribbean Championship, it tells you the teams that are serious. Jamaica, you had Suriname there. Who else you had?
Bahamas.
The Bahamas as well too. And while the Bahamas is well known, the Bahamas is a country known for producing NBA players in the
Definitely.
men's. But in the women's team, they were competitive with Guyana, with just a touch above them
Yeah.
in that regard. So I think it's a regional problem, and with Guyana, I guess we are in a position now to show how serious we are about women's development. To answer your question about the central basket and preparing our women's team, we have been receiving a lot of calls from people wanting to represent Guyana at that level. I think Joy Adams is an excellent recruit,
Yeah.
because the minute you show that you are from Guyana, she's like, yo, reach out to this person, or this person seems interested in playing, because she understands that while our women, and I really hope people don't take this anyway outside of what I'm trying to say, while our women in Guyana deserve to be showcased at a regional level and deserve a chance to be seen at an international level, we have to manage those expectations.
Right.
To
Right.
understand that, look, we can't spend $15 to $20 million on a team just to give someone exposure. Could they impact our team at that point in time? You have to look at that. Have to look at a young player who might be 17 who has the potential. Would they be encouraged if they're included on that team at the Central Basket? Because we've seen how our rotation went. I mean, you were a part of the commentary team. We basically work with a 5 players
Yeah.
or 6 players really running that rotation.
Definitely.
And we saw what happened when we put in the other girls from the bench in blowout games. You know, the scores were stagnant. But it's really not their fault. The Basketball Federation has to work with their affiliates, Georgetown, Linden, Berbice, Bartik, to ensure that they include women and girls in their program so the locally based girls could have an opportunity to play. But it's really difficult going forward putting together a roster for Central Basket, particularly since FIBA only gives us one naturalized squad and we only have to use one player that wasn't born in Guyana. So yeah, and they're Guyanese either by their parents or grandparents.
Yeah, talk about being between a rock and a hard
It is it is not a good place to be in right now. We would make some I don't want to say enemies, but not a lot of people would understand because picture me saying yeah, Tristan got potential, and knowing for a fact that Tristan would not be able to play at that level.
Right,
understanding Tristan's skill set, understanding what you could do at a locally based level, and so understanding that you don't play basketball that much in Guyana. So it would be hard for us to just put women team out there just to put in them sake. At the Basketball Federation, sometimes we discuss, are we going to register a women's team at the 3x3 AmeriCup? When we look at the competing teams, we'd be like, no, there's a waste of finance. Not because the girls aren't deserving of it, but why would we send our girls to be beaten badly when we don't host 3x3 tournaments in Ghana? We talk about it often as journalists, as another hat in which I wear professionally, and we would say, why are we sending teams knowing they can't play and they're badly beaten? Oh, they're just doing it for exposure. You understand? So before we look, as Sister said, dance a yard before you dance. Right? We gotta develop the girls locally before we start exposing them to higher level of competition regionally and internationally.
I definitely agree with those sentiments. And, I mean, for me personally, watching the women play at the Caribbean Basketball Championships last year was some of the best basketball I've seen played here locally.
I don't even like to agree.
I mean,
I agree wholeheartedly.
Even better than the men. Just to put that out there, how the girls were playing.
Trust me, when he says better, it does mean better.
Yeah, like it was how I mean our coach was brilliant with how he used his rotations, spacing of the floor. We were probably the best 3-point shooting team, and we weren't taking bad shots, which was a good thing. So
the shots that we had anyone would have taken if they were playing the game.
Listen to me. I think that the Guyanese team could probably even compete with the men. It's not a
you started a whole controversy there. Trust me, you started a whole controversy.
It's not hate on you, men. I ain't trying to say it.
They look good though. I ain't gonna even lie.
Look good.
They look really good.
They look real good. They look real good.
I think they would stand up against the men. For real, I think they would stand up against the men. No disrespect, fellas. No disrespect. But they could hold their own. I'm not saying they're gonna win, but they would definitely hold their own.
It would definitely be an enticing
but
game.
You know the funny thing is though, on that tournament, in terms of expectations, we expected them to win because I was saying, when I look at this team, they have everything that needed to win.
Yeah.
The only thing is they have a solid 6 or 7. It depends on who they're playing against. Yeah, and just to give an idea as to what the competition is like at Central Basket, the USVI won handsomely against all of the teams in the competition, including Guyana. I mean, the Guyana might be their most competitive game, and I think the Bahamas or Jamaica, but they don't win at Central Basket. So understand the level of competition that we're going up against from teams from Central America and other parts of the region. So it is every day we talk about it amongst ourselves. How are we going to get our girls prepared for this tournament? Are we going to host camps? Are we going to bring them to Guyana? Are we going to put them in tournaments? We will be receiving some support from the Guyana Olympic Association in that regard in terms of preparing the team because that's part of an Olympic qualifying stage as well too. So how do we go to that? Before I end, I'm going to give an exclusive in terms of basketball for Guyana, right? But how do we go about preparing that team for that level of competition, understanding how we're managing resources, how we're managing expectations of this team, because they've created high expectations based on how they played in Guyana. Yeah. Do we give opportunity for people to see the team back in action again in Guyana? Because Joy plays at the European level. She plays in Spain, which is the highest level of women's basketball in Europe, right? That's the NBA, WNBA equivalent in Europe, in Spain, right? So how do we manage those expectations out the guy and say, look, this team could do well at Central Basket, but how do we prepare the team for the expectation that the public has, the media, fans, everyone around surrounding the team? So it's kind of hard, but I think the Basketball Federation has shown that, one, we could host a major tournament, two, we could put together a good enough team to represent Guyana, and three, we actually do mean balancing our international level or regional level between men and women and managing the game locally for that. So like I said, this year is actually one of the busiest years that I've ever seen in basketball as an administrator and more so as a journalist. And I'm happy to be part of the driving seat to showcase Guyana basketball with my other fellow executives.
It's your turn to drive at BM Soat Auto Sales.